Hi, my name is Phil, and I am a senior lecturer in astrophysics at the University of Lincoln. Now, I've done quite a few videos on different sorts of galaxies, and I last did one on dwarf galaxies, which was covering kind of like the common types of dwarf galaxy. However, with this video, what I want to do is actually have a look at one of the rarer types of dwarf galaxy, which is kind of like a subtype of just dwarf galaxies in general. So before we do that, if you haven't come across my videos before, or you're not really sure about galaxies in general, we kind of have this classification system of galaxies, the different sorts, and you typically have spiral galaxies, elliptical galaxies. They're like your key main significant large galaxies. Now, the spiral galaxies on this tuning fork typically evolve right to left. And it might be intuitive that they might go the opposite way, but they generally, well, they do go from right to left. And what happens is those spiral arms in the spiral galaxies get more tightly wound as they age, as they evolve. They lose their gas, their star formation rates decrease, so they actually move across and they lose their gas. The spiral arms get more tight, basically. And the bottom route is for barred spirals, so like the Milky Way. If it has a bar in the center, then it's a barred spiral galaxy. That's like your SBA, SBB, etc. And the top one is for ones that don't actually have a bar. Now, there is actually a one in the middle, which is for intermediate galaxies, which is not shown here. And then on the opposite side, you also have your ellipticals. Now, for spiral galaxies, as I mentioned before, these have gas in them. They have gas and dust. It means that they can actually form stars. And you find that the population-wise typically has a larger percentage of younger blue stars. The younger the galaxy, the younger the spiral galaxy, the larger amount of bluer stars they're going to have, because big blue stars don't live for very long. So if they have those, it means that they must be quite young. They also have disk-like dynamics. So they're kind of flat like a disk and then rotating around like a disk. So another key feature really for a spiral galaxy. Probably the most obvious one that I haven't mentioned here is the fact that they actually have spiral arms. They have large scale structure in the form of spiral arms. Now, onto the other side for elliptical galaxies, these are typically classified by their shape only, not by their composition and their other structural kind of key features, really. So here you're purely only going to classify them by shape. And these galaxies here are smooth, they don't have spiral arms, so they're kind of featureless. So in comparison to the spiral galaxies, you're not going to find any recent star formation occurring. The stars themselves are moving more randomly. So in the disk-like galaxies, like spiral galaxies, they're rotating like a disk. There's like a net rotation there. In an elliptical galaxy, those motions are more randomized. It's more like an actual gas, and the individual particles in the gas moving around more random. They don't actually have gas in, which is why you don't have star formation. If there's no gas there to gravitationally collapse and form into a star, you're not going to see any new young stars forming. That then means that your overall population in an elliptical galaxy of stars is going to be your older red stars. So an elliptical galaxy will appear redder than a spiral galaxy in general. So on to dwarf galaxies then. To give you an idea, well, I mean, they're smaller. So in comparison to the Milky Way, so the Milky Way might be like 100,000 light years across. And, well, I say might be. You're probably thinking, well, we're in the Milky Way, surely we can measure that quite well. Well, there's quite a bit of uncertainty on the Milky Way on various aspects of it because we're inside it and it's quite difficult to measure. But a spiral galaxy, fairly typical of the Milky Way, might be on the order of like 100,000 light years across. Dwarf galaxies are going to be kind of an order of magnitude less than that. So you're talking a few thousand light years to like 10,000 light years across. So these are considerably smaller, these dwarf galaxies. And with regards to mass-wise, let's say that the Milky Way, again, there's going to be some uncertainty on this, but it's on the order of trillion times the mass of the Sun. So when you look at the dwarf galaxies, that might be on the order of billions. So a big difference in their total mass. So billions times the mass of the sun against trillion times the mass of the sun. Now you do have large variations in galaxies. They're not all the same like the Milky Way. You have bigger ones, smaller ones, but this is just a generalization really. Now elliptical galaxies, they have a larger range. So you can have smaller ones and bigger ones, but they can typically be much bigger than a spiral galaxy just due to the nature of what they are. And these can be up to millions of light years across and have tens of trillions of solar masses basically. So these can be much bigger than a spiral galaxy for these elliptical galaxies, so much larger than a dwarf galaxy. And dwarf galaxies in general are the most common type of galaxy. There's a lot more of them. They can be quite difficult to detect because they're quite low luminosity. They're not very bright, but there are typically more of them than the much larger galaxies. They're a very common type of galaxy, really. And where do we normally find them? Well, quite often we find them as satellite galaxies around the larger one. Now, the Milky Way has quite a few satellite galaxies that are orbiting it. Over time, those orbits can deteriorate and spiral inwards, and then they merge with the bigger one, which is a common way that the spiral galaxies and the elliptical galaxies actually grow. But we typically quite often find them around the outside of bigger galaxies in the form of a satellite galaxy, so they can quite often be like that. So the common types, which I did another video on, are going to be your dwarf elliptical, dwarf spherical ones, dwarf spiral ones, and then the dwarf irregular. Now, a lot of those share quite common features with their larger cousins. So a dwarf elliptical will look quite similar to a normal elliptical galaxy, might have similar composition, things like that. Same again with a spiral. And the reason for this is they could be precursors to the larger versions that will eventually end up like them by mergers, things like that. But I did a separate video on these anyway. Now, the uncommon types, so you then have ultra compact, ultra faint, and blue compact dwarf galaxies. Now, the one I'm focusing on with this video here is going to be an ultra compact one. So what is an ultra compact one? Well, before we do that, I want to kind of go back over globular clusters. And again, if you haven't seen the videos I've done on globular clusters, these are spherical groups of stars, very densely packed actually. And there's some nice pictures there. You can see these with your own telescope, basically in your back garden. And we typically find them, again, around the outside of the main galaxies. They don't orbit in the disk of the galaxy. So because they are outside the main disk of the galaxy, they don't have any not stars, they have lots of stars actually. They don't have any gas content in them. And because of that, they contain quite old stars. They're very close to each other. So if you take a typical cluster like this, they can contain up to like 1 million stars. They're very close to each other. They're also very red because they haven't formed new stars in a long time. Now, actually, if you want to look into this in more detail, you're going to look there and think, well, wait, there's blue stars in that cluster, and you'd be right. We have things like blue straggler stars, and you can form new stars due to the collision of two old red stars, and it forms a much larger, hotter, younger star essentially, but that's a whole other story and video right there. So where do we find those? Like I mentioned before, if we were to look at a spiral galaxy like this one here, we would find these around the outside. So we'd have kind of like a halo around the main disk of the galaxy where these globular clusters are located. They're not in the main disk, which is where all the gas and dust is likely to be. Therefore, you don't get the star formation in there. And interestingly, you typically don't find stars in these clusters with planets because they're so close to each other. They actually disrupt each other and they can eject any planets that do form there. So again, another consequence of having a densely packed cluster of stars. They're also denser in the center, as you can see. So the brighter in the center, the density of stars is greatest there and then decreases towards the outer part. So these orbit around the outside, a bit like small satellite galaxies, although they're not really galaxies. So as we mentioned before, no gas for star formations, and we should typically find a population of old red stars. And if you have a look, most of them are kind of red, but you do have the odd one that's blue, as I mentioned about the blue stragglers. And if we want to actually have a look on the HR diagram, so the HR diagram is like a scatter plot of stars basically plotted against their luminosity and their surface temperature. And it will give you kind of a general population. Now, if we do that for a cluster, we should find that it will be biased towards kind of your older red stars as they kind of go red giant phase as well. So you'd expect it to be more on the red part of the spectrum if you just did the HR diagram of a cluster only. Now, obviously, you have a blue section as well for those blue straggler stars. But again, we're not that interested in the clusters for this part. We're interested in the ultra compact dwarf galaxies. Now, they share quite a few similarities with globular clusters in the sense that they have the higher stellar densities than normal dwarf galaxies, and they're a little bit similar to the globular clusters, and they have very dense stellar densities in their core, and they look fairly similar in that sense. Now, the main difference really is that they're much bigger. So an ultra compact dwarf galaxy may have solar masses upwards of 10 to 100 million solar masses, whereas a globular cluster might be up to like 1 million solar masses. So they could be 10 or 100 times more massive than a globular cluster. That then makes it basically a galaxy as opposed to just a cluster. So these are more significant and larger structures than a globular cluster, but they are fairly similar in kind of like their structure and the fact that they are kind of these dense clusters of stars. Now, they're much more compact than a normal dwarf galaxy of a comparable luminosity. So if we were to measure the luminosity of this galaxy, a ultra compact one would be much more, well, compact and smaller for the same amount of luminosity to a much larger dwarf galaxy. So they're going to be kind of smaller, but they have kind of, a greater amount of luminosity for their size. They're more compact, I suppose is the right way to say it. Hence their name, ultra compact. So they're smaller in size than a dwarf galaxy, bigger than a globular cluster. Now, how do they actually form? Well, they're not very well studied, to be honest. There's not a lot really known about them, but there's a few ideas, and I haven't mentioned them all here. I've just mentioned a couple, actually. So one of those is that it's kind of like the nucleus or the central core part of a dwarf galaxy that's had the outer part tidally stripped from an encounter with a large galaxy. So maybe the outer parts, the gas and all that, has been stripped away from an encounter with a larger galaxy, and it's left behind this dense kind of nucleus from the center, which is more significant than a globular cluster, but also smaller than a dwarf galaxy, which it was originally to start with. Or it could be that it formed from the merge of stellar superclusters. So you'd have these large star clusters, which then collided and merged and grew into bigger ones, and over time you end up with something that looks a bit like a ultra-compact dwarf galaxy. But again, they're not very well studied, there's not a lot known about them, so these ideas could be completely wrong. They could be a combination of it all, and we just need to kind of study these more, really. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoy the videos and find them helpful, then do consider becoming a member. I have extra videos in the member section, and also it just generally helps support the channel. So thank you for watching.